I started looking at life through the lens of emotion a long time ago. Because I shared that quote from Tony Robbins that says, all human behavior is the result of the state that we're in. I found that to be incredibly true. I just think that the way that we feel in any given moment determines what we do in that moment. And so when I look at life, and particularly I look at human behavior through that lens, so it helps me to understand why people do the things that they do. And if I can understand why someone does what they do, I have a better chance of impacting them and connecting with them, right? So and I think that, so Jim Carrey says that there really are only two emotions, either love or fear. And I think that's true as well. If I trace back a feeling that I have, more of a complex feeling, if I'm stressed about something or worried about something, or if I am happy or positive or excited about something, I think that when I trace that feeling back, it's either coming from a sense of fear or a sense of love or hope. I guess hope might be one, or maybe faith, belief, confidence or security. But I think they all come from a feeling of love, that everything is okay, right? That I'm enough, that I have enough, that I'm going to be enough, everything's going to be okay because I'm loved, and everything is, I'm good enough, and what I have to offer and my life as it is right now is good enough. And so that's a feeling of love. Whereas on the flip side, fear is this complex emotion, or it manifests itself, I think, in complex ways. We tend to look at it and say, well, I think what happens is we don't realize when we're afraid. We realize when we're stressed, and we don't always acknowledge it or recognize it. We feel stressed, and then we manifest bad behavior. I don't know, maybe bad behavior is not the right word, but we manifest unhealthy behavior or negative behavior. For instance, when we snap at somebody, or have an argument with somebody, we're angry at somebody. Anger, I'll talk about anger at some other point. But anger is an interesting one, because in all of my research, it seems to be that the prevailing opinion now about anger is that it's a secondary emotion. That it's what's it called? A masking emotion or a defensive emotion. So it protects us from feeling other vulnerable emotions. Right? So when someone gets angry at you, or angry at someone else or whatever, you can bet that they're feeling insecure about something, and so they're using anger to push away the person and attack the other person or the other thing that's making them feel insecure or afraid. And so they use anger and to protect themselves. So I don't know, I really kind of, it might be oversimplification or reductionist, unfairly reductionist, to look at people through that lens, but it has helped me to understand people a little bit better. Whenever I have a negative experience or an unpleasant experience with somebody, or just looking around at the world, we live in a crazy world right now, and a lot of fighting and a lot of yelling and a lot of, right, I can always trace the root emotion back to fear, and then if you can start to ask questions to discover why people are afraid, what are you afraid of, you can start to get somewhere. You can start to make changes and make impacts on people. And you can do this with yourself. This is the biggest discovery for me, and very impactful for me, is that when I am feeling stressed or worried or sad, like depressed or anxious or whatever, I can ask myself, what am I afraid of? Right? Like, what is going on here that is causing me to be afraid? You know, I'm trying to think of a specific example. Like maybe you're feeling stressed, right? And you don't really know why. I mean, well, why am I feeling stressed? And then you can think about the thoughts that you're thinking at that moment. Oh, I'm thinking, I'm worried about, I don't have enough money right now, right? I don't have enough money. And you're worried, you're thinking about, how am I going to make my money stretch until I get paid again, right? Well, all that is, the stress of it is kind of unnecessary, right? Like, it doesn't help to stress about it. It just makes you suffer before you get to the point where you can figure it out or fix it or whatever. So you can uncover, I'm worried about money, and then you can find ways to focus on things that help you feel more empowered or more hopeful. Okay, yeah, I don't have enough money. Well, here, what can I do to like make it until I get paid again, or what can I focus on that will help me feel more hopeful? Is there something in my life that brings me some amount of peace or love? Right? Love, the Bible says perfect love casteth out fear, right? So if stress is about fear, and I'm worried about I don't have enough money, if I feel and shift my focus to something that makes me feel love or loved, all of a sudden that stress changes and my experience changes. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden I have all this money and that my problem goes away necessarily, but my experience in life changes, and that makes you happy. Okay, so that's what I have found. Like, you can have any kind of experience through any other experience, right? The external circumstances don't determine how you feel. Now, it's not always easy. In fact, I've found it's oftentimes really hard to change that focus and to stop worrying about money. But it's possible. And we do have impact and influence and control over how we feel, and how we feel determines the quality of our life. And so I would say the more that we can feel and focus on things that make us feel love or loved or love for others, the higher the quality of our life will be. And so I don't know, that's like an introductory thought about emotion, how it influences life and controls the quality of our life. And how that helps us to interact with other people and understand other people better and ourselves better. Then we can be more compassionate with ourselves. Oh, I'm stressed about money. Oh, well, that makes sense. It's okay. It's okay to be worried about that. I'm worried about that. That's okay. And you're still worthy of love and happiness, and you can still be happy. And to focus on something else that makes us feel loved. And I found the more we feel loved, the more we feel hopeful, things tend to kind of fall into place a little bit more. I've just found that is true. So there's just a thought I've had. Look at your focus. Look at other people's feelings in a moment. If they're angry at you or they're yelling at you or whatever, it helps to kind of try to understand why they're feeling afraid. And then you can kind of resolve those issues, and then you can make progress in your conversations, I think, a little bit better. So anyway, just a thought.